Hi everyone, welcome to day 39 of our journey with the Celtic Saints, our last but one day with these great characters of old. And today is the day we remember a gentleman called John Scotus Eriugena, means John the Scot of Ireland. And he was one of the last of the Celtic Saints. He lived in the 800s and early into the 900s. So very late on, and he's renowned as a famous thinker and indeed theologian to the King of France. So he spent his early part of his life in Ireland and then went out to France, where he lived the next 30 years as the advisor to the king. And what can we remember about John Scotus Eriugena? What would be the important thing to take from his life? Well, I think there's something about his love of the mystical and the poet, and he wrote a large number of books which have had a big influence not just on the Celtic tradition but on Western Christianity, particularly around the idea of thinking and reflecting on God through the idea of metaphor and the idea of image, which of course is what a poet is so skilled at doing. A conventional theologian is much more interested in technical terms and using language as a craft, but in order to define and clearly define what aspects of we're talking about with regard to God. But a poet instead looks to see what the similarities are and where an image can actually speak across the divide between what we know and that image and God himself. And of course this is a very old biblical tradition, although I understand the passage that the author David Cole has chosen for today. I'm surprised he hasn't gone to the Psalms, because the Psalms are really a wonderful way of the poet speaking about God. We may well have our own favourite Psalms. Psalm 23, the Lord's my shepherd, would be a classic. Is God a shepherd? Well, maybe or maybe not, but he certainly expresses qualities like a shepherd, where he cares for people and cares about individual lives and walks with them and leads them into not only quiet waters but also through difficult times into the wonderful revelation of himself. Hence the idea of arriving at the great temple in Jerusalem, and it says, "I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever." There's almost like a triumph, and trumpets go off as we climb over the ridge and look down over Jerusalem. So this is what the poet does, and for me one of the most powerful images that we can reflect on in the Psalms is the fact that we are caught up within the beauty and the interconnectedness of the creation, as God himself is the creator. And Psalm 8, a very short psalm, I thought we could just look to and listen once again to words that many people will know well, but it sort of captures this, and it's been a long tradition that's gone down through the ages. O Lord my God, how majestic is your name in all the earth, for you have set your glory in the heavens. Through the praise of children and of infants you have established a stronghold against all our enemies, to silence the foe and the avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in their places, what are men and women that you are mindful of them, mere human beings that you should care for them? And yet you have made them little lower than the angels, and you have crowned them with glory and honour. You have made them rulers over all the works of your hands. You have put everything under their feet, all flocks and herds, all the animals and the birds of the sky, and the fish in the sea, and all that swims in the paths of the sea. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. That wonderful holding together of a paradox, really, between on the one hand the amazing enormity of creation, looking up at the stars, particularly if you're out in the desert where David perhaps wrote this psalm, and how small we can feel as a human being in comparison, and yet at the same time knowing that each person is profoundly and beautifully loved for who they are, and it's all held together. This is the way of the poet, the way of the mystic, and long may it continue. It carried on through people like Francis of Assisi writing Brother Sun, Sister Moon, his great poem that held together the idea that all, even the elements, we were interconnected with as brothers and sisters. And then also carrying on into even the poem I referred to the other day of R.S. Thomas, the idea that the way you can hear waves on a shore, and that can be prayers echoing upon the heart of God, and God is always there, willing to listen and to receive all that we offer. So John, Scotus, Eriugena, thank you for your way of seeing, and long may we continue to do so. Have a good rest of the day. God bless. Bye for now.